Hey guys, this is the bike. Undercover, ready for winter. It'll be winterized very soon, and right now it's the back end of November 2019. But I'm not entirely happy with it being under just a bike cover, a standard bike cover. So I bought this. Well, I bought this box. What's in the box actually is more important. It's actually a clamshell motorcycle cover, and it comes in a box. It's roughly 57 inches long, 7 inches tall, and 10 inches wide. I'm going to be doing an open and an assembly, and we'll see how it goes. And then when we're done, we'll put the bike in it and see how it fits. So watch this space. And disclaimer, the video on my iPhone is really bad and really wobbly at times, so maybe we'll get away with it, but we'll see. Watch this space. Cover me. I'm going in. Got the knife. Got the box right there. It's gonna be tough to see, but you'll get the drift. Unboxing. And that was lucky I didn't cut through the fabric, so there's nothing around. Nothing around, it appears. The actual fabric. Now I don't know if that's a case or if that's the actual, nope, that looks like the actual fabric. So let's put the knife down. Let's see what we got here. From the box, just fabric on the top. And let's see, just gonna slide that out. Yeah, we got more fabric. And that seems to be an actual package. Yeah, that's a bit of a case. As you can see, a zipper. Yeah, look at that. That is an actual carry case. Tough to see. But right there, carry case. So we can focus on that bit now. That was on the top. I'm not sure what that is yet. So let's unzip. Let's assume we can unzip this one-handed. Well, there you go. There's the clasp off the zipper. Epic fail number one. That zipper is really tight as well. And now it's one of those self-closing zippers which needs to be lifted to open. I'll be right back. So right back about 10 seconds later. Not only did the tab come off, the actual puller for the zipper, but also the retainer on the top of the zip that the puller comes on. So now I have this, which is extremely tight on the actual plastic zip itself. Okay, I'll be right back. So 30 seconds to a minute later, the zipper, really tight zip, pushed back the full length, and this is what you're greeted with, a box and what looks like what appears to be instructions, step-by-step guide. Looks very easy to read. I haven't even glanced at it yet. You're seeing it as I'm seeing it. So looks like 6 steps to complete this thing. But when I say clamshell, that's going to be the end state right there. We're going to unbox what's inside, and I'll be right back. And we're back. About 30 seconds later. Literally just split open the top of the box, peeled back the cardboard, and we've got these what looks like one of the side assemblies here. Everything seems to be wrapped nicely in the polythene plastic bags. Come into some bags here. So I'm going to unbox, remove the parts. Hang on, what can I do while you're watching? There's one side. There's another side. These are assembled already, so largely. And then you've got the loops that go over the top. That'll spread the two sides apart, hold them apart. And then we got a box of a bag of something here. Nice little bow tie on the top. There you go. So I'm gonna remove the plastics and probably start following the instructions. Watch this space. So there we have it. Unboxing complete. I got I've obviously got the fabric that was on the top that when opening the box, I was a little concerned I might have cut through something, but nope, didn't touch it. Go easy on the knife. There's the empty box and the empty plastic packaging. Underneath the box is the bag that I just opened to get to that box. This is everything in the box. This is kind of cool. It's not heavy gauge material, but the pipe looks good enough. So you'll see, and everything inside the bag is right here. So you have 10 bolts, 5 of each size. I'm not sure how long, I haven't measured them. It looks like a 1 inch and 2 inch, maybe a little longer than 2 inch. You also get 6 concrete plugs, a couple of brackets, a couple of metal sleeves. Yeah, metal sleeves. You get a quantity of washers and a quantity of nuts, obviously the bag that it came in. So we're going to start, get the instructions, and start with step 1. Step 1, lay assembly A. There we go. I knew there was a reason I put a weight on there. Lay assembly A on your right and B on your left, with the shortest tubes pointing in front of you and ribs laying fanned out on the floor. Be right back. Part 2. Connect the E tubes onto the A and B parts with angled ends on upper rib using F, G, and H fasteners. Now for reference, they do lay out what the fastener parts identifiers are up in the top right of that the quadrant on the instruction sheet. So I will do with E on A and B with F, G, and H. We'll take a picture. This is my layout right now. Let's see if I can lift up high enough. There you go. So the instructions are to lay out that this bar here to align with the bottom hole there, and on the top there's a crimp which is at an angle, and then you can align the holes at the top, and I'll be sticking the fasteners in there shortly. Bolt, lift it up. Oop. Gonna be fun with one hand. There you go. Bolt's gone through the hole there. Now to align the holes up. It goes through there. Put that back down. Let me put a washer on there and one of the nuts. Spin it up. Okay, you get the drift. You don't need to see any more. You'll probably see the next step. Okay, both sides done. Next step. Back to the instructions. Let's leap over. Step 3. Connect D. Then lift the assemblies with all the ribs and connect C across the A and B frames. Leave the last C tube uninstalled for this step as the picture shows. Be right back. So I'm in the middle of step number 3, and the first thing I did was I inserted and locked in this tube here, pointed to by my foot. And this tube has a brace along it with what looked like to be some anchor holes. It's kind of cool. Then it gets a little precarious. When you plug in one side, I also, the same as doing the first side, I just started on that side, installed the loop, the frame loop on that side, and then installed across on one side as well. Lifted the whole thing up on its side and then installed it both ends on this side. It gets a little precarious because I guess the braces are loose and they swing. So right now it's resting on itself, and now I got to install a few more of the cross braces. Very simple installation. the diameter is reduced. You've got these press nubs. You press it in, slide over, line up the hole, and it locks in place. You'd like to think. So, I got one there which hasn't locked into place. I haven't tightened any bolts up yet, just because I know I'm going to have to jockey this around so everything does latch into place. So that's something I'm going to look for. So there's an example there of the spring system. It presses in, the cross tube slides over, and then it should spring back out into the hole, and it's located. Very simple system. So far so good. Keep watching. So there we are so far. All the cross beams are installed and positively locked in each of the locations. It is a little fiddly. It's a very straightforward principle, but some of the locking pins are rotated a little bit, so you do need to move these around and give the uprights a bit of a twist. But they do positively lock. They're all done. And we're ready to move on to the next step. And next step, step 4. Step 4. Check to ensure that the tent cover is spread in the right direction. Let the 2 unconnected tubes pass through ground sleeves of the cover. Okay, let's do that. I'll be right back. So following the instructions, I just tried to figure out how do you know which is the front and back of the actual cover itself. So half a minute of thought, I realized, well, you can't slide the rear tube that I'm just pointing at there with the brace across because it's attached. So there's a Velcro tab on the back of the cover, and on the front, just like in the instructions, there's a loop there which you would actually pass through the final cross brace, which is sitting there alone right by the bike. That would pass through there, and that would latch into the end of these tubes here. But first I've got to slide these. I've actually got to drape the cover over the frame assembly, then slide these tubes into that loop there. I'll be back. So 20 seconds later, I've just draped over the cover, over the pre-assembled frame as it stands right now. Now I'm about to slide those poles into the sleeves. I'll take a picture and show you in a minute. There you go. There's the first one sleeved. Took me all of 10 seconds. Okay, so there's the rod waiting. Let me find sleeve position. I got the rod between my legs. Open up the sleeve. It is pretty tightly pressed right now, and there's plenty of room. And yeah, most men should be able to do this, no problem. Onwards and upwards. Step 5. Set the last C-tube, pass through the ground sleeve of the cover, and connect it with assembly A and B. I think I explained that earlier. Visually, that's what it looks like on the instructions. I will get that done and return momentarily. So there's the first side done. I've actually slid the sleeve over the top of the C-pipe or the C-frame. I've locked in this side, and that's good. When you come over to this side, this is what you'll probably end up with, and you'll see it's overlapping the sleeve a little bit. You guys have figured it out pretty easy, but just slide the sleeve over to lower the other side, allow you to line up. There you go, that's C-pipe. Press in the retainer. This is going to shoot down any second. There we go. Just got it. Give it a wiggle. You get pretty low down, and it gets a little bit. You have to twist to allow the pin to pop through. Yeah, there we go. I'm trying to look at that video, record, and you have to do a twist on this pipe. You can't see the pin there. You have to do a twist on this pipe to help it line up There we go, there's a bit of a click. Still not done. This is an example of what you're up against. There we go. That's positively locked. And we now have the frame anchored on the, when I say anchored, in place. So that's the front frame, and it's draped over the center frames. So that's what it looks like at this point. Let's see what else is in Step 6. That seems to be close to the end of the page there. Step 6, fold the cover backwards over the frame, wrap the Velcros around the ribs as appropriate, and tidy up the whole tent. Looks like I'm doing some Velcro wrapping and tent tidying. I'll be right back. So there you have it. Literally just pushed everything back over the frame, over the ribs. Is the right language. And the first Velcro wrap along the bottom is done. It doesn't take a minute. This is what you get. We are trying to wrap that. Bit of a two-handed job. You don't need two men, you just need two hands. Okay, you know how to pull Velcro apart and then stick it together, but it's simply that. Gets wrapped around that bottom brace there. So 2 or 3 minutes later, the Velcro's in on the side there. It just needs to be pressed together. I've also done in the back. You're working from the inside right now because the Velcro does wrap from outside to inside. Wraps underneath the pipe. Gives you a bit of a bottom seal there. There's a full length along the back. There's 2 tabs, one on each side. And then there's a slightly longer tab along the bottom. That's the lower perimeter. Velcro together and looped around. Just gonna slide that over. Now to work on the actual ribs. So nearly 5 minutes later, all the Velcro tabs have been wrapped around the ribs on the inside. Let me see if I can show you an example. It is an inside job. You can see the stitching on the outside of where the Velcro tabs are, and they just separate. They're pretty large, a lot of float and they're not really tight or snug or wrapped around, so that will allow for a bit of float. And you end up with that. It's quite a sizable cover actually, and if I pull it down, you end up with that. Now it's not anchored, that's not its final resting place. It'll be more over where the bike is, but that's the intent of this cover, is to give it a bit more semblance of protection against the elements. Now I did notice on the side here, you got on both sides, you've got these flaps. Little tab of Velcro. You can roll up and tether them. They're ventilation tabs by the looks of it. So just put the Velcro together. It's not particularly heavy. I'm going to hazard it's probably 30 to 40 pounds maximum. That might be a stretch, 40 pounds. Not entirely sure. And it probably would need to be tethered, especially in a wind. It probably does need to be anchored, hence the anchor bolts that it comes with. Now I got to find out, am I missing some braces and bolts, because I don't recall where these go, and I have 2 of those. 2 sleeves, 2 straps. Weights can be placed on the flat bar, so let's read the bottom line here. Weights can be placed on the there we go. Weights can be placed on the flat bar connected to the D plate. Bolts can be used to fasten swivel plates of A and B to concrete or other firm surface. Fold down and storage. The motor tent is designed to fold down for storage as needed. While the motor tent is fully assembled, remove the bolts for the A-frame, take out the H-tubes. The motor tent can then collapse, closed, pivoting on the A and B base assemblies. Tie the ribs together at the top and you can easily move it around. We wish you many years of quality motorcycle storage with your motor tent. Isn't that nice? So I don't see anywhere specifically relating to sleeves, brackets. I would imagine that these bolts, maybe there's one extra bolt, nut and washer there, just for assembly. You've got your anchor bolts for the ground, and these might be, these smaller bolts, nuts and washers are probably for attaching those so the anchor bolts can go through. They seem to be right sized. Not entirely sure what those are for, but maybe I'll figure it out. Okay everybody, that's what you end up with. Slightly different angle. I have to step back, it is quite a size. And the next image will be of me inserting the bike inside, which incidentally is a Suzuki Boulevard N50. So there you have it, people. The bike is now stored inside there, and it's not as straightforward as it seems. The width is just a little too narrow for my Suzuki Boulevard N50, and you do need to lift up the ribs to make it over the handlebars or past the handlebars so they don't huck in. That's especially when you lock your steering, you put your steering lock on, and it does need to be coerced into position. It's almost as if you need to ride the bike in forwards, and that's why the taller cover back end would probably allow for me to park with the front visor windshield at that end and not this end, because the bike right now is backed in with the lowest part, rear wheel here and rear fender over here, and then the front wheel and fender, handlebars, forks, etc. are there. I imagine that trying to drive it in the other way is probably going to be easier. Unfortunately, that doesn't work in my use case. I prefer to bring the bike in from through the gate. I turn the bike around and actually bring the front wheel back up there and back up the bike into its final resting space. I may have to reevaluate that for future use, but we shall see. A little nervous, it is light. I'm going to reevaluate the weight. It's probably about 25 pounds, 20 pounds, 25 pounds in total. It's not that heavy at all. It's I don't believe it's close to the 40-pound estimate I put in earlier, I mentioned earlier. So it's not that heavy, and anchoring or some sort of floor assembly is going to be required. Obviously, to lift the rubber off the concrete blocks I've got laid down, or the interlocking blocks I've got laid down, is something I'm going to have to do. And if I can figure out a mechanism of laying those down so the weight of the bike actually holds down this cover to see me through a season or two, that's really going to help. But there you have it. I'm just going to lift up the front here, and you're going to get an experience. I don't think I have enough wide angle on the iPhone to show you the problem here. But as I bring it back, the bike is in. I do have to lift and cajole the frame over. There you go. So there you have it. I'm actually pleased with it, even though I do have to manhandle the system. I don't want to leave the bike without its steering lock on. Just one extra element, but if they break the if they break the steering lock, then they've got the ignition as well, pretty much. Anywho, that's going to keep it a little bit safer, or a little bit out of the elements for this particular winter, and we'll pick it up in the spring. Today is gorgeous in Hamilton, back end of, I want to say it's November the 26th, and it's 10 degrees in Hamilton, Ontario, so I am actually going to catch up with a couple of friends, riding friends, and we're going to go out. Okay, enjoy and ride safe, everybody.